This is Richard Engel. Instant reaction to President Trump's announcement in Iran, where President Hassan Rouhani came out near midnight to say he'll stick with the deal even without the U.S., but threatening what could happen if the now wounded agreement crumbles entirely. If Iranian benefits in the deal aren't provided, he said, Iran is ready to resume industrial nuclear activity. Across Europe, there's a chill tonight that the U.S. under President Trump may not be a reliable partner anymore. An unusual joint statement read, "It is with regret and concern that we, the leaders of France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, take note of President Trump's decision." Just last month, French President Emmanuel Macron made a personal plea to keep the deal at the White House.
We should not abandon it without having something substantial.
But at least two countries loved President Trump's move, Saudi Arabia and Israel, where last week Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a dramatic case to drop the deal, citing intelligence that Iran made the deal in bad faith. Tonight, praising President Trump.
Israel fully supports President Trump's bold decision today to reject the disastrous nuclear deal with the terrorist regime in Tehran.
And Richard, I have to ask you, what impact could this have on nuclear negotiations with North Korea?
Well, obviously, everything is linked. We know that Secretary of State Pompeo is heading to North Korea, reportedly to try to secure the release of 3 American citizens. It will be a confidence-building measure for any future summit. But this move today by President Trump will make North Korea, and especially its backer, China, very nervous. They'll now want more guarantees for any agreement they'd make. So the price just went up, Lester.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.